unpack. Obviously, the University of Arizona put forth a very dispiriting performance against Princeton, and there's a lot to unpack right there. What happened? What does it mean going forward? Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, got a lot to get to here, so let's talk about it. Arizona, Princeton. By now, everybody knows Arizona lost to Princeton. And I will say this. My biggest issue with this game and with what happened with the University of Arizona was not necessarily the end result. Because as we've talked about many, many times before, this is not a super talented team. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of it was kind of a smoke and mirrors type situation, and that's a testament to Tommy Lloyd. But my biggest concern, though, with this team is that you had a lot of guys out there that didn't look like they wanted it. And what I mean by that is that we can just go player by player, position by position, and we're talking guys that just really didn't look like they wanted to be there. You know, we start with Azuolas Tubelis. He's a really good player, but, you know, he didn't seem to really want the ball there at the end of the game, did he? I mean, did anybody really watch Azuolas and say, man, you know, that's a guy that really wants the ball right there? I certainly didn't see that, and I don't know a lot of people that did see that. And again, he's a really good player, but he's closer to a role player than he is I would say, than a star, because can't create a lot of his own offense. We already know that, but there's a lot more to it at play as well, in that and that not only, you know, he short arms some passes, and not only does he short arm some shots, some passes, but he also there's moments where you just kind of wonder, does he really want to be here? And I think that's a real question if you're an Arizona fan, you know, can he be your star? I don't think that you can win at the highest level with Azuolas Tubelis as your star. I think he can be a third option, but I don't think that he can be your star. And I think that's a little bit of an issue if you're an Arizona fan. Then look at somebody else like, you know, we're just going to go position by position here. I love Oumar Ballo and what he was able to do. Oumar, to me, was he was playing hurt. He's a trooper. He was playing with a hurt. He was playing with a hurt hand. And so the fact that he was out there, and the fact that he was out there, and not only was he out there, he was playing, and you could tell in the locker room that this clearly meant a lot to him. I have no problems with Oumar. Same with Pelle Larsson. Now, like Oumar, he's a little bit limited. He's never really going to be a star. Again, if he's your fourth or fifth option, you're totally okay with that. But if he's not your fourth or fifth option, and he's your second or third, you're probably going to be in a little trouble, mainly because he can't dribble. And that, to me, is always going to be a little bit of his fallback. But again, I'm totally cool with having those guys come on or stay on the squad, because again, I think especially with Oumar, you know, you can definitely win with guys like that. Now, some of the players that I'd like to see, you know, and again, it's hard because again, these are college players, and again, they try. I'd like to see Arizona move on from Kerr Kriisa. I don't believe that Kerr Kriisa is a good enough point guard. I don't believe that Kerr Kriisa is a good enough point guard to be able to win with, especially when you're dealing with so much of the antics that go on. Kerr Kriisa likes to talk a lot. He likes to, be an instigator, but he's also really not that good. You've seen it. I mean, we've seen it now in multiple tournaments here where he just isn't really anywhere to be found. You know, he's kind of that front runner type. And it's not that he stinks, but it's that I think Kerr, you're limited in how good you can be if Kerr Kriisa is one of your starting guards. Because again, he's not really a shooter. I mean, I know that people say he was billed coming in as a shooter, not really a shooter. Again, not dissing the young man, but again, not really a shooter. And you know what? That's okay. But again, it does limit what you can do right there. And he's not a very good defender. And I think the team takes on kind of where a little bit of his lead right there. So again, don't like that. I would be, with all due respect to Kirk Reese, I'd be totally cool with moving on from him. Then you got Kylan Boswell. I think you got to give the keys to Kylan Boswell. I really do. I think that he needs to play 30 minutes a game at that point guard position next year, and he needs to be that guy where he gets the ball, and you know what? He's the one, he's the engine, he's the guy that runs that team. That's what I think you need from him. And honestly, I would love to be able to see them be able to do that. But it's also going to take a little bit of gumption there from Tommy Lloyd, because again, as we've talked about, Tommy Lloyd is a really good dude, and he clearly likes Kerr Kriisa a great deal, but I think you're kind of at a crossroads decision right now with what exactly you want to try to get from Kerr Kriisa, because again, I just don't think that they're good enough with him. Then after that, you've got some other guys. You've got we talked about Kylan Boswell, Azuolas Tubelis. Love for him to come back, but again, I think you got to be able to upgrade a little bit around him then. And that's kind of where you're at with this roster right here. Now, Tommy Lloyd, he's going to have to hit the transfer portal, and he's going to have to hit the transfer portal with meaningful additions. And I don't mean this in a negative light, but he's going to have to get some dudes in here who are athletic and who are real dogs, who are guys that, can get after the ball and, not only get after it, but they can play defense. They can rebound, and they can score. Because again, what you saw from this team was a fairly limited team. Again, I think Lloyd did a really, really good job masking all this. But I think you also saw a team where I think a lot of these guys are. They're either limited or they're kind of soft a little bit mentally. And both of those are problems, either way, whatever way you want to look at it. So you got to get some guys in there that are mentally tough. And again, it's hard in the transfer portal because, again, pros aren't really in the transfer portal. Doug Gottlieb said that to me once, and I've stolen that term and I've used it many, many times over the years. And I'm going to continue to use that term. Well, I guess I didn't steal it because I gave him credit for it. But he's going to have to really, and I'm not talking about going to Macedonia and finding, a gem. Those are all fine. I'm talking about finding some guy that could come in right now and get you 15, 16 points and be a real difference maker out there. And Arizona just doesn't have that. And Arizona needs to be able to get that. Totally cool with the Seth Hendersons and the Courtney Rameys. We're going to get to Ramey in a second, but those guys got to be more your 7th, 8th options types. Now, Courtney Ramey's getting beat up a little bit for his shot selection at the end of the game. I couldn't possibly care less about his shot selection at the end of the game because at least he wanted it. Watching this, there were so many times that I wondered to myself, man, do they really want this? Do these guys really want to be out there? And I think it's fair to say that a lot of times it just didn't look like they wanted to be out there. And I think that's a little bit of it. Courtney Ramey at least looked like, all right, I want to shoot this shot. I want to be the one that's going to take this on. And that was something I think that was sorely lacking in this year's team, quite frankly, is that a guy like that wanted to be there, a guy like that wanted to be able to take that next step. And again, it's less than ideal, but that's kind of where you're at with this roster right now. What happened? Now, I got to put some of this, and again, keep in mind, I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of Tommy Lloyd. Anybody that knows me or anybody that listens to me certainly knows that to be the case. But Tommy Lloyd also, and this is a little bit on the coach though as well. Tommy Lloyd just did not also look like he didn't press the right buttons. Whatever those buttons are, he didn't press them because Kerr Kriisa is saying that, we just didn't play hard enough. All that can't happen here. That can't happen at the University of Arizona. And it also goes to show you too, that when it comes to Kerr Kriisa, or this team, you take on the embodiment of the coach. And again, love the coach, but you've got to be able to you've really got to want it out there. And quite frankly, Princeton wanted it more out there than University of Arizona. And not only did they want it more out there, like it looked like, quite frankly, it looked like, this game at the end for Arizona, they looked scared. They looked shocked. And that's a major, major, major issue, because again, I don't know why you would go in there being scared, because again, you got a pretty laid back coach right there. You got a coach that, kind of lets you play. So again, he's got to figure something out there, because that can't happen again. You can't have a situation where you've got guys coming in and they're playing tight, and it looked like they played a little bit tight last year too. And that's just kind of the situation right there. You can't have that. You got to. So again, I think Tommy Lloyd's going to have a lot of decisions to make this offseason. And again, I'm a big fan of Lloyd. I think he's smart. He's clearly smart. He gets it. But you're also going to have to find out exactly who do you really want going forward, and what is the mentality of the team that you want going forward. Because again, this is a squad that this is a squad right here you got a lot of questions about. And I don't really know where to, again, kind of speechless just what I saw. But again, I think it starts with Kerr. You got to move on from Kerr. I know that it's not ideal. I know that you don't necessarily want to move on from Kerr, but you got to move on from Kerr. And not only do you need to move on from him, I think you got to give Boswell the keys to the car. Now, one thing, though, that we don't have to worry about is FanDuel. All right, now let's talk FanDuel. FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. All right. Might be saying to yourself, Mike, what can FanDuel do for me? Well, FanDuel can do a lot for you. First of all, and March Madness is here. There is no better time to hop on than right now at FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. And again, got the March Madness. You got them watching Xavier right now. They're getting taken to the woodshed by Kennesaw State. And that's kind of where it's at right now. But FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. You've got in-game, in-game betting, you've got bets before, you got props, you got everything. This is kind of where it's at. It is where it's at right there. So check it out, FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. All right, let's take a quick break. Let's talk about players coming in and internal improvements from players that didn't play much this year. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we've got a lot that we need to talk about right here when it comes to the players. And I think a big thing about it is that Henry Vasar up front. You need Henry Vasar to be able to. You need Henry Vasar to be able to make that next. To be able to make that next move. And not only do you need him to be able to make that next move, you need him to be able, I think, to be able to step in and be a starter. And I think when it comes to that, you've got a guy in Vasar who he showed a lot of potential. I think that you could probably question whether he should have played a little bit more. I think you could certainly make that argument. But not only that, Vasar is a guy that showed a lot of talent, and not only did he show a lot of talent, he showed a lot of how do I put this? He showed ability to be able to block shots. He showed an ability to be able to finish around the hoop a little bit, and he's super, super long. Now, again, I think people thought that he would be further along, but at the same time, though, I think this is also where Henry, where with Vasar, you got to be able to get him ready to be able to play 25, 28 minutes a game. And like Tommy Lloyd said one time, and I don't think he would mind saying this, but it was off the record. He said with big men, sometimes it takes longer, but when they get it, and they get it fast. And not only do they get it fast, there's a big part of it that it just takes a little bit of time. And I think Big Henry can be that guy. Same thing with Dylan Anderson. Dylan Anderson is a guy that I have a lot of hope for. And we always hear that. You always hear that. You know what? Big men make their biggest leaps in that second year. And I think that's going to be the case. I think that's going to be the case with one of these guys. Just need one of them to be able to hit. Need one of them to be able to make that next step. And when one of them makes that next step, I think you have a lot more margin for error because I think they can both be good. Now, let's talk a little bit about. So Adama Ball, I would like Adama Ball to come back, but again, I would like Adama Ball to redshirt. Again, he's not going to be a player that is going to be able to, I think, make an instant contribution. But I do like him. Philip Borovichinen, I have absolutely no clue what to expect from Philly B, but I like Philly B a great deal. I think that you watch him, you can see a guy who can probably get there at some point, but it's going to take some time. I've always thought when they recruited him, this is more of an upperclassman or a transfer upperclassman type move where it's going to take him a little bit of time. But once he takes a little bit of time, he's able to do that. And again, Tommy Lloyd generally knows what he's doing when he's recruiting the guys from overseas. So I am going to trust Tommy Lloyd on that. And then KJ Lewis. I am a big fan of KJ Lewis. I am a huge fan of KJ Lewis. I think at about 6'4", 6'5", out of Texas, I think he's a little bit underrated. First of all, he's a dynamic athlete, and that's what this team needs. You need athleticism on the wing. KJ Lewis is one of those guys that can bring you some athleticism on the wing. And not only can he bring you some athleticism on the wing, he can bring not only can he bring some athleticism on the wing, but he can also probably bring a little bit of defense to it as well. And so that's what you like to see that's what you'd like to see. But I need more of that. I need more of that in the grad transfer or in the transfer portal as well. More 6'4", more 6'5" guys to go in there and really be able to take kind of the burden off some of these players and to be able to get more athletic and be able to move some things around right there. So again, that's kind of where we're at with the internal improvements. Now, you might say to yourself, Mike, I think Arizona needs to get stronger. I think Arizona needs to get bigger. You would be right. You know what you could do then? Built Bar. Say to yourself, all right, Mike, what should I do? Where can I go get Built Bar? You can get Built Bar at any of your GNCs. Again, you can get blueberry. You can get chocolate. You can get whatever you name. They got it. You name it. They got it again. And how many times do you go to the gym and you say to yourself, man, I don't want to go to the gym right now. This isn't fun. Because not only do I not want to go to the gym, after that, I've got to go eat something that I don't really want to eat. Built Bar is the elixir for all of that right there. Again, good stuff. Tastes good. Check it out. Built Bar. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, again, this was a difficult situation for Arizona. There's no doubt about it. Not only is it a difficult situation for Arizona, but the fact that they didn't play well, the fact that they didn't play hard, I think was incredibly dispiriting if you're an Arizona fan. And that's something that I think Tommy Lloyd has to kind of figure out right now. He's got to figure out what exactly he wants to do right now with that. And not only what he wants to do with this squad, what he wants to do. What does he want his image to be? Now, granted, he wants to get out and run, and that's great. But you also, I think, want to be a little bit tougher right there. And this offseason, I think, is going to tell us a lot about Tommy Lloyd. And I think he's going to pass with flying colors because, again, big Tommy Lloyd fan right here. And I think that not only do I think that Tommy Lloyd is the answer, but sometimes great coaches, it takes a little bit of time It takes a little bit of time, and after that, they figure it out. And again, he's a smart dude. He gets it. Just got to tinker around the edges a little bit, and I think he's going to figure that one out. All right. Have a happy weekend. We will be back with you on Monday. You have been listening to Locked On Wildcats.